After 12 years, she came back for him, not to talk, not to forgive, but to finish what he started. Jessica Harper disappeared without a trace, and Michael Reynolds thought it was over. He thought he had won. But the night she returned, everything he built began to fall apart. This is not just a story about business. It's about trust, power, and what happens when the wrong person underestimates the one who built everything. Before we go further, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Because what you're about to hear isn't just a rise and fall story. It's a long game, played with patience, memory, and precision. Jessica Harper was the kind of person most people never fully understood. She didn't need attention, she didn't chase recognition, and she didn't waste time proving herself. What she did instead was build. Quietly, consistently, and with a level of focus that made people underestimate her. Long before anyone outside a small circle had heard her name, she was already mapping out ideas that would later turn into a company worth millions. She understood systems, she understood risk, and more importantly, she understood people. Not in the way that made them feel comfortable, but in the way that allowed her to see exactly what they were capable of. Michael Reynolds was different. Where Jessica was quiet, he was confident. Where she calculated, he convinced. He had a way of walking into a room and making people believe in something even before it fully existed. That was his strength. And when he met Jessica Harper, he recognized something immediately. Not just potential, but opportunity. The kind that doesn't come around often. Their partnership didn't begin with trust. It began with usefulness. Jessica needed someone who could take her ideas into rooms she didn't care to enter. Michael needed something real to stand behind. Together, they created something that neither of them could have built alone. In the early days, everything worked. Jessica designed the foundation, every process, every structure, every move that pushed the company forward. Michael took that foundation and turned it into a story people wanted to invest in. Investors trusted him. Clients believed him, and slowly the company grew, not overnight but steadily. The kind of growth that builds confidence instead of doubt, and as it expanded, so did their roles. Jessica stayed behind the scenes, refining, improving, solving problems before they became visible. Michael stepped further into the spotlight, becoming the name people associated with success. At first, Jessica didn't mind. She wasn't building for recognition. She was building because she could. But over time, something started to shift. It wasn't obvious at the beginning, just small changes, meetings that happened without her, decisions that moved forward without her approval, conversations that felt shorter, more controlled. And every time she questioned it, Michael had an explanation ready, reasonable, calm, just enough to keep things moving. But doubt doesn't disappear once it begins. It waits. And for Jessica Harper, that doubt slowly turned into something harder to ignore. The night she disappeared didn't make sense. There was no argument, no warning, no sign that anything had reached a breaking point. Her office was intact. Her personal belongings were still there. Her phone was left behind. It was as if she had stepped out for a moment and never returned. Michael Reynolds told everyone the same thing. He said she needed space, that the pressure had finally caught up with her, that she had chosen to leave before things got worse. And for those who didn't know her well, that explanation was enough. But for those who did, it raised more questions than answers. Because Jessica Harper didn't walk away from things she built. She didn't leave without control, and she didn't disappear without a plan. As the days passed, concern turned into speculation. As weeks passed, speculation turned into silence. Without evidence, without answers, there was nothing to hold onto. The investigation slowed, the attention shifted, and eventually Jessica Harper became a name people stopped saying out loud. But while the world moved on, Michael Reynolds moved forward, faster than anyone expected. He took full control of the company, restructured leadership, and began making decisions that pushed the business into new territory. And it worked. The company didn't struggle without Jessica. It expanded, revenue increased, influence grew, and Michael became more than just a leader. He became the face of something powerful. Interviews, features, recognition. His name carried weight, and with every success the past became easier to ignore, or at least easier to pretend it didn't matter. Years passed, then more years, 12 in total, enough time for people to forget details, enough time for questions to lose urgency, enough time for Michael Reynolds to believe that whatever happened back then would never come back to him. Until it did. It was late, quiet, the kind of night where nothing feels out of place until something does. The knock on the door wasn't aggressive, it wasn't repeated, just a single, deliberate knock. The kind that makes you pause before reacting. Michael wasn't expecting anyone, no scheduled meetings, no visitors, and yet something about that moment felt different. Subtle but enough to slow him down as he walked toward the door. When he opened it, everything changed. Jessica Harper stood there. Not the same as before, not the version of her that had disappeared 12 years earlier. There was no confusion in her expression, no hesitation, no sign of weakness. She looked composed, certain, like someone who hadn't been lost but waiting. And in that moment, before a single word was spoken, Michael Reynolds understood something he hadn't allowed himself to consider in years. She hadn't been gone. She had been preparing. What followed didn't happen all at once. There was no dramatic confrontation, no immediate collapse. It started quietly, small disruptions, minor inconsistencies, things that could be explained away at first, but they didn't stop. Financial discrepancies began to surface. Investors started asking questions. Deals that once moved smoothly began to stall. Information appeared in places it shouldn't have been. Not enough to destroy everything immediately, but enough to create pressure. And pressure changes everything. Because the same systems that once built Michael's success were now being used against him. And there was only one person who understood those systems well enough to do it. Jessica Harper. She knew where the weaknesses were. She knew which decisions held everything together. And she knew exactly how much pressure each point could handle before it broke. It wasn't revenge driven by emotion. It was controlled, measured, intentional. One by one, the foundation began to crack. Investors pulled back. Confidence dropped. Partnerships weakened. And for the first time in years, Michael Reynolds found himself reacting instead of leading, trying to fix problems that didn't have simple solutions, trying to regain control over something that was slipping further away with every move he made. And Jessica never rushed it. Because she didn't need to. By the time the full picture became clear, it was too late to stop it. The empire Michael Reynolds had built, expanded, and protected for over a decade began to collapse under the weight of its own structure. Not because it wasn't strong, but because the person who designed it knew exactly how to take it apart. In the end, there was no dramatic final moment, no single event that ended everything. Just a gradual, undeniable shift from power to loss, from control to consequence. And when it was over, Michael Reynolds was left with something he hadn't faced in a long time. Silence. The same kind of silence that followed Jessica Harper's disappearance all those years ago. Only this time, there were no questions left to answer. So now the question is simple. If you were Jessica Harper, after everything that happened, after everything that was taken from you, would you have done the same thing? Or would you have walked away and left it all behind? Let me know in the comments what you think, because your perspective matters more than you realize. And if this story kept you thinking until the very end, make sure you like this video so more people can discover it. Subscribe to the channel for more stories like this, because the next one might change the way you see trust, power, and the people closest to you.